Another day, another lawsuit for Vince McMahon after his return to WWE as the executive chairman. This time, the lawsuit comes from WWE investors for allegedly paying to cover allegations made against him, the very latest in yet another lawsuit for WWE's chairman. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there is plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment, especially at the moment considering Vince McMahon has now returned. And since he has returned, not only have several board of directors resigned, not only has his own daughter resigned, not just as chairwoman, not just as co-CEO, she's resigned from the entire company. Not only have we seen one lawsuit, two lawsuits, now three lawsuits levied against the former CEO and head of creative, current executive chairman of the company, Vince McMahon. The drama, the fallout just continues day by day by day. As I mentioned, a third lawsuit has been made against Vince McMahon. According to Bloomberg, there is a third lawsuit against Vince McMahon brought to him by shareholders who are suing over McMahon's alleged history of paying to cover up sexual harassment accusations. As I mentioned, this comes from Bloomberg, who write that WWE investors leading litigation over Chairman Vince McMahon's surprise return are fighting over the path forward after McMahon rescinded certain bylaw changes that would have seized power from the company's board. As I mentioned, there's a real Game of Thrones situation going on right now in World Wrestling Entertainment. Now, the dispute involves three groups of shareholders that sued McMahon this month, including a pension fund, that was the pension fund from the Detroit Police and Fire Department, after he ended his self-imposed exile, which began when he stepped down in July, facing a wave of sexual harassment and hush money allegations stretching back more than 15 years. The lawsuits in Delaware's Chancery Court accused McMahon of timing his comeback to seize control of upcoming negotiations over WWE's expiring media rights and forcing his way back by leveraging a threat to withhold support for any deal reached without his participation. The move reinstalled McMahon as the head of WWE's royal family. That includes his daughter Stephanie, who of course stepped down as chairwoman and co-CEO in early January, and son-in-law, the former champion wrestler Paul Triple H Levesque, a member of the board. As I mentioned, it used to involve Stephanie. She's now gone from the company entirely, not just only stepping back to the hiatus that she went on last year, but fully going from the company. The only thing that's associating her with WWE right now is one, the last name McMahon, and two, the company stock that she still owns. Now, two of the investors suing McMahon include, as I mentioned previously, the police and fire retirement system of the city of Detroit. Narrowly challenged solely his unilateral move to rewrite WWE's bylaws in his own favor. This is something we covered in the last few weeks as well. But essentially, when Vince McMahon came back, not only did he come back and not only did he bring with him two board of directors in George Wilson and Michelle Wilson and George Barrios. I'll get that right eventually. So he had supporting votes for anything he wanted to do on the board. He also amended company bylaws, which essentially meant that the things that he was threatening and holding WWE ransom for in the first place, he could do anyway. Remember how Vince McMahon forced his way back into the company. He said, he threatened, he held the company to ransom. He blackmailed WWE, essentially by saying, look, if you don't let me back in, if you don't let me on the board of directors, what I'm going to do is I'm going to block any potential sale of the company. I'm also going to block signing off on any new negotiations for media rights, knowing that the media rights for WWE expire in 2024. They need to be negotiated this year. So essentially, if he's saying I won't sign off on them, he's essentially saying I'm going to bankrupt the entire company if you don't let me back. So what do? They have to let him back. Plus, it's his company. He can do what he wants anyway. So he comes back, and then when he comes back, he changes company bylaws that states any kind of negotiation for a sale of WWE, any kind of negotiation for media rights approvals have to go through him anyway. So he forced it either way. Now they definitely have to go through him, and this is what this is all over now. WWE's investors are suing Vince McMahon, saying that that's not by the company handbook, that's not by the company playbook, and it's illegal according to the law of Delaware. Now, I'm not a legal expert, I'm certainly not a Delaware law expert, but certainly they feel they've got a case to answer for, and at the very least, they're hoping that litigation will slow down the process of McMahon trying to sell the company. It will slow down the process of Vince McMahon changing these company bylaws, and it will maybe, who knows, force Vince McMahon back out of the company, certainly. Again, We'll have to wait and see whether that can happen. Now, as I mentioned, the police and fire retirement system of the city of Detroit narrowly challenged solely his unilateral move to rewrite the company's bylaws in his own favor. A third shareholder brought broader claims directly involving the sexual harassment accusations. This is this new third lawsuit that we're learning about today. Bloomberg's exclusively reporting this one. Now, McMahon and the WWE haven't yet made a court appearance, but a January 17 securities filing showed that McMahon had repealed the most contagious changes, restoring power to the board. So remember, the initial company bylaw amendment said that basically he had control over everything. Now, when he filed a new amendment to the company bylaws, he maybe had put some more wiggle room in there to put it back to the board. That might have been, again, out of concern. That might have been out of worry that what he had done or the changes he was making weren't totally legal according to these lawsuits, and maybe this was him backtracking a little bit, or certainly enough until there is a full sale of the company. To who? Maybe it's to the Saudi PIF, and then they put him in charge, and then it doesn't matter what the company bylaws are then, because the company would go private. We'll have to wait and see. Now, the filing prompted the current dispute among the shareholders. In one corner, the pension fund and other investor are seeking to have the bylaw-related claims declared moot so they can take credit for the reforms and seek a, quote, mootness fee in recognition of their role in forcing McMahon to curtail his ambitions, essentially saying they should receive some kind of payment for forcing McMahon to back down. Quote, this consolidated litigation is narrow in scope, it is moot, and the only remaining litigation in this action should concern the application for fee award, they said in a court filing Monday. The other group of investors, meanwhile, those suing over McMahon's alleged history of paying to cover up sexual harassment accusations, are seeking to sever their case from the consolidated action. That could keep the bylaw-related claims alive, interfering with any fee request. And the pension fund and its co-plaintiff investor Scott Fellows are represented by Labaton Sutro LLP, Freelander and Goris PA, Friedman Oyster, these names are difficult, Oyster and Tagetal PLLC and Cascola Law PLLC, which is interesting when I see all of those different law firms there. Let me count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 different law firms involved in one sort of class action, possibly, or collective lawsuit against Vince McMahon. And I think back to last year, I think back to around the time that Vince McMahon retired. I use that in inverted quotation marks there, but I think back to the time that Vince McMahon retired from WWE, and there were all of these reports at the time saying that not only were there government investigations, not only were there legal investigations, not only were there investigations from the Justice Department going on when it came to WWE and their incorrect financial earning reports they had put out over the years. Because remember, this is important to stress, that with Vince McMahon and all of those hush money payments, they should have been declared by WWE. Now, yes, they came out of Vince McMahon's own personal wealth, but any payment to the benefit of WWE, which is what those payments were, they were to the benefit of WWE. They benefited WWE because they made sure that the company wasn't embarrassed. They made sure that the company didn't have bad PR. Therefore, they were to the benefit of WWE, and despite being paid out of Vince McMahon's own personal pocket, they should have been documented, and they weren't for over 15 years. And WWE had to go back and amend 15 years worth of quarterly earnings financial reports with SEC, and because of that, or the SEC, excuse me, I see the comments, with the SEC, and that was a problem. And because of that, again, the Justice Department and other departments were looking at WWE and Vince McMahon saying, was there something against the law that should have been that they didn't follow, and can we prosecute? Can we investigate this further? And I think back to the reports at the time that said there are multiple, in the 10s, in the 20s, of law firms that are circulating WWE and circulating what's going on right now with Vince McMahon, saying, hey, how can we make money off this? How can we litigate because of this? We've got people within WWE that feel that their money, because remember, they're investors. People have invested their money into WWE by purchasing shares of the company. They feel that their money hasn't been, or they've had a misappropriation of their money. They've had a misappropriation of the money they've put in, and they haven't got the best value for money in investing in WWE stock. And if they feel that their money's been messed around with, or the stock's been tampered with because of what Vince McMahon's doing, then they feel that they've got an active right to sue. And all of these law firms were saying to these WWE shareholders, stockholders, investors, whatever you want to call them, they were saying back in the summer, we think there's a case here. And again, the sticking point was, if Vince McMahon comes back, this could be what breaks the dam and causes a flood. And that's basically what's happening right now. You have to remember too, what did the board of directors say to Vince McMahon when he told him at the end of 2022, I want to come back? He said, or they said to him rather, if you come back, we think it would be to a detriment of WWE because we've had shareholders threaten to sue us. Not just necessarily Vince McMahon. They've had shareholders threaten to sue the WWE board, saying, if you bring him back, we will sue you because we feel you were complicit in covering up these allegations. We feel like you were complicit in assisting him all of these years. And again, it was a misappropriation of our funds, of our investment into WWE. So they knew this was coming. And frankly, you could argue some of the news stories that have come out to the Wall Street Journal probably come from the board of directors anyway. So certainly, it's again a developing news story. Certainly, it's just the latest, the latest lawsuit against Vince McMahon. And to be honest, as I mentioned, I don't think it will be the last. I really, really don't. Now, of course, it's hardly alleged. I mean, you have to say it, but it's hardly alleged that he did cover up these affairs or these harassment allegations with hush money payments, because it's been documented, it's been recorded. The WWE board of directors did their own investigation internally into this, and they found these settlements totaled in the tens of millions of dollars in multiple situations. Vince McMahon, just prior to coming back to WWE, in late last year, reached a multi-million-dollar settlement with former WWE referee Rita Chatterton, who accused him of sexual assault back in 1992. That was a settlement that was reached just weeks ago. And again, there have been plenty more over the years. There was the one in April last year. There's the one in the mid-2000s. Again, it totals the tens of millions of dollars. So if they believe that there is actively a case to pursue here, then they'll pursue it. As I mentioned, Detroit's Police and Fire Retirement System and Scott Fellows previously filed lawsuits against McMahon, arguing that McMahon had breached fiduciary duties as controlling stockholder by trying to impose his personal will on WWE and its board by purporting to adopt a package of invalid and inequitable bylaw amendments that would hamstring the board from making critical business decisions. They are seeking a declaration that would effectively block McMahon from regaining control of WWE's board of directors and prevent him from expediting a sale. Unfortunately, when it comes to blocking McMahon coming back to WWE, when it comes to blocking him from having anything to do with WWE, I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Ultimately, whether we like it or not, Vince McMahon is the controlling shareholder. He does have the majority voting power in WWE. That's why he's back in the company today. And that's why he's able to do things that he's doing right now. And unless someone within WWE, one of these investors, one of these law firms, can find that Vince McMahon broke the law or broke WWE's own bylaws or own company handbook, then maybe they might have a case to answer to. But ultimately, Vince McMahon's in control, and he knows that. That's why he's back right now, because he held the company to ransom to ensure that he could come back. That's the situation. Again, it's just a case of, and I wouldn't even be shocked with this. I wouldn't be shocked, one, if more lawsuits come out, and I think they will, but two, I also wouldn't be shocked if more accusations, more allegations come out against him in the Wall Street Journal. What did the WWE board of directors say? They said it in one of their emails, one of their letters to Vince McMahon. There are more accusations that we have discovered that haven't been released to the public just yet, and we'd hate for that to come out. Essentially threatening McMahon back, saying, look, if you come back, we might have to leak something else to the Wall Street Journal. Where do you think all this information is coming from? Why do you think the Wall Street Journal have been involved in every single McMahon accusation? Probably because someone within WWE is telling them. So keep your eyes peeled, because as I mentioned, this is a story that will never go away. So be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts on this developing WWE news story in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.